One of my favorite travel photographers is a guy by the name of Karl Shakur. He takes really awesome pictures in really awesome locations. One of my favorite ones, I'm going to show you how to recreate this without traveling for a fraction of the cost and definitely a fraction of the time spent getting this picture. First, I need to look the part. So I'm gonna wear some big travel looking clothes. So once you get a photo that you're happy with, we need to bring it into Photoshop, cut ourselves out of the background. So here I am in Photoshop. All we're gonna do is select myself and cut myself out of the background. We're gonna use the quick selection brush. I'm gonna paint over myself. It's gonna be really easy because I'm on a white background. We're going to mask that out. If you have frizzy hair, you're going to want to come in with the refine edge brush and bring out those finer little details. Every little bit works. I also, you'll notice, I came in and I dimmed myself because I felt like I was a little bit too bright. There's too much contrast. So now that we have the selection made, I'm cut out of the background, we're going to save this as either a PNG or a TIFF. Either one is fine. Both of them have an alpha channel which preserves the transparency, which is the space that we cut out around ourselves. So we're gonna open up Blender, go ahead and delete the default cube because that's next to useless. We're going to import images as plain. Find where we stored the photos that we just created. Okay, here are our images. We can't see anything because we need to go into rendered mode. And now we can see what we're working with, but this isn't the camera angle that we want to work in. So I'm going to hit 3 to go into side view, Control Alt 0 to snap the camera view to our current view. Also, if you notice, my picture has a black background, and that's not right because we spent plenty of time making a transparent background. So what we're going to want to do is go into the Render tab, go to Film, Enable Transparent. Also, while we're here, we're going to enable screen space reflections and ambient occlusion just for kicks and giggles. Now, what we need to do is go to the image plane and go to the Materials tab, and under Blend mode, we're going to do Alpha Blend. And that lets us use the alpha channel. And now I'll cut out. You can see me if I put myself in front of the background. It's free and clear. Next, we're going to delete the default light, add in a sun lamp, change the angle of the sun lamp to, it's going to hit our images at a, let's say, a 45-degree angle. We don't want to have it directly pointing at our images because that is, it's going to make my image cast a shadow onto the background, which is no good for us. So now move the background back far, far away. So now move the background back. We're going to scale it up, have it fill the screen, scale it up a little bit more, and we're going to raise it up right about here. Okay. Now what we need to do is create a plane to hold our reflection. So we go back to Karl's picture. He's standing on an infinity pool. It's a really cool picture. And so we need a reflective surface to catch all those nice reflections from the mountain and from myself, obviously. So, create a plane, scale it up, make sure that it is below the feet right here. Okay. That looks good. And we're gonna delete this plane, we don't need that. Okay, and also my image is casting a shadow on a plane. On the plane, we don't need that, so we're gonna move this forward just so much. Okay, now we're gonna put a reflection. We're gonna tell this plane to be reflective, so we're gonna give it a new material, and we're gonna turn the metallic all the way up and roughness all the way down. And you can see we have a little bit of a reflection, but it doesn't right. And that has to do with the fact that, let's just go into cycles, because as cool as Eevee is, it doesn't always get everything right. All right, so now we're in cycles. Things look good. I could lower myself down just a little bit so that my feet look like they're actually making contact with this water. Cool. All right. Yeah, that looks about right. All right, so now for the kind of the tricky part. So yes, I'm on the reflective surface. It looks like I'm on an infinity pool, but there's just a little bit more realism that we could achieve here. And we're gonna do that by adding some surface imperfections to the reflective surface. Maybe some ripples or something to really sell the image. There's two ways we could do that. We could add just a simple texture to the plane and tell it to render reflective little ripples, or we could actually go to the structure of the plane, to the actual geometry, and put those distortions in there. I like making things complicated, so that's what we're gonna do. So first, we're going to subdivide this plane, give us some geometry to work with. So go into edit mode, subdivide, and we are going to subdivide 10, how about 60 times? Cool. Click out of that to finalize it, and then we're actually going to subdivide. Let's do. Cool. Yeah, I like that. All right, click out of that. Awesome. Now let's go back into object mode. We're going to use a modifier called displace right here. I'm going to turn the strength down all the way to 0.0001 for now. Okay, but we also need to tell what is going to actually displace the geometry. And we do that with a texture. So we're going to tell it to look for a texture, and we'll name this, we'll name it ripples. Okay, now we go into the texture tab. We have ripples selected, and I'm gonna use a Musgrave texture. And now we need to fiddle around with this to make it do what we want. So we're gonna turn the size down a lot. And we're getting there. This is interesting. Okay, that's a little too much. There we go. Okay. That's starting to look better. Another thing that we need to do, I look a little bit too bright. Go back to Karl, he doesn't he's not super visible. So we're gonna try to match that a little bit better. So I'm gonna go into our shader editor. Okay, make sure that subject is selected, and we're gonna bring in a couple of things to help us sell this a little bit more. So first, let's turn down the brightness. I'm gonna do this with the gamma. Okay, it's gonna darken me up just a little bit. That's awesome. Now, there's a little bit too much color. You don't really see that much color with something that's not brightly illuminated. So I'm gonna go in, put in a saturation node and turn down the saturation just a little bit. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, and then let's blend myself into the background a little bit more. I'm a little bit yellowish, and I'm seeing a lot of I don't know, more magenta. So we're gonna go to the red channel and just bring that up just a little bit on the lower end, like right there we go. Yeah, that's starting to look good. Maybe bring the gamma up just a little bit more. Okay. Maybe a little bit. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. Let's get out of that. And now, I like this image, but let's make it pop just a little bit more. So we're gonna go into the world settings. We're gonna turn up the brightness a little bit, like this. Just turn up the strength of the global illumination. And then we're gonna change the color a little bit too. We're gonna make it a little bit more magenta or pinkish. I mean, we could do whatever we want. Green, probably not so much. We could make it oranger, more dusky, but I'm gonna go for kind of like a more magenta, pinkish sort of vibe. That looks good. Lastly, what we can do is go into the render settings, and let's go into color management, and maybe we'll make this just a little bit more contrasty. Maybe, what is medium? Let's see what high contrast looks like. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So I'm happy with that. We're gonna quickly just render the image and make sure it looks satisfactory. And it's rendering really slow because I'm using I forgot to change my render engine to use my GPU. It's using my CPU right now. But there you have it. While these little Pac-Man render squares make their rounds, that is how you get a dope travel photo for a fraction of the cost and a fraction of the time. If you can spend a little bit of time on the computer, you can pretty much make anything. And if we compare this to Karl's photo, I would say that we did a pretty good job. Thanks for watching. If you like this, let me know what else you'd like to see. I'm always interested in recreating photos and doing cool things with Blender, Photoshop, and maybe I'll mix some video in there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.